on my butt! Akuma Smash! Ladies, gentlemen, and hunters of all ages, it's time to get down and dirty with our own two hands. By which, of course, I mean my two hands and your two hands. Not like our collective set of two hands that we have to split and manage like some sort of human limb-based timeshare. But if you're looking to spend your time sharing human limbs with some monsters in an aggressive way, then today is the day for you. Last night we had the release of the newest patch for Monster Hunter Wilds, and alongside with it, it had the Street Fighter 6 collaboration quest, bringing in the Akuma quest, the Akuma armor, and the Akuma combat items, which are functionally like an extreme evolution of when we got to use Igni in the Witcher collaboration quest back in the Monster Hunter World events. This is a set of 3 items that we get in Wilds. In order to access them, you need to either be wearing the Akuma armor proper, or use the layered version of it over a normal set, and you unlock this by just making the normal armor set. One of the items that you get from wearing this is just to equip some slinger ammo that you can use infinitely. Essentially, it's not that big of a deal. One of the items is essentially a shortcut to a move that you can do otherwise, useful for putting on your radial menu as an example. And then the third item is the proper one that you'll be using most of the time, and with this item, when you use it, you will do a punch. Then you can either continue with a second punch into an energy blast, or you can change by using the normal attack button after using the item to enter other combos, one of which being a bunch of fast kicks, and one a heavier set of blows. There are a bunch of little details worth talking about with this, a lot of hidden interactions or extra ways that you can really get a surprising amount of strength out of this as a concept. And so today let's break it all down and talk about everything you need to know with the new Akuma armor and the items that come along with it too. First and foremost, let's talk about the attacks themselves, because the most important part of making this work properly and making it strong is knowing which of the attack combos are best to use, which one is the most optimal for outputting damage. Standing light punch combo, which is the one that uses the item use button 3 times in a row, which is square for PlayStation, X for Xbox, or E on keyboard and mouse. Whatever it is for you, that's the combo I'm talking about. This one doesn't do great damage, but importantly, the third hit is the biggest hit, and that third hit is also a projectile with massive range. So as long as you can aim it at the monster properly and try and hit weak spots with it, this is a relatively safe combo that you can use to get in damage even when you're not right beside the monster. This combo has a relative DPS of 33.5 against the training dummy with no crit and exactly 100 attack on the status screen. The Viscera Piercer combo, which is what I'm calling the combo where you start with a standard light punch, then use standing medium punch into Viscera Piercer, and then OD Adamant Flame. The Triangle or Y combo, or the left click combo if you're on keyboard and mouse. This one is a bit longer to pull off as far as the actual time of the combo, but not too much, and it has 38.6 DPS, so notably quite a bit higher than the first combo, but it is all exactly melee range, and the hits have no real forward momentum on them, so I only really recommend this against a monster that is knocked down or immobilized in some way or just not moving because they're stuck in an animation, because if they move even a tiny amount, the range of this attack is so small it'll probably make you miss all of the important hits, which are of course the end of the combo. The third main combo then, which I'm calling the kick combo, starts with the standing light punch, then going into kick, 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 which are the circle or B button inputs or right click for keyboard and mouse. This has a quick series of hits, and while it is the longest of the 3 combos by nearly a full second, it is also the only one with proper forward momentum on it. So if a monster is moving and you are trying to keep up with it while still outputting some sort of damage, this is absolutely the go-to combo with a DPS of 37.6, so it's slightly lower than the Viscera Piercer combo, but the forward momentum more than makes up for it against anything that isn't just fully stopped moving. It's also worth mentioning that this combo has the highest number of hits per time as well, so if you have an element weapon on, this will likely overtake on damage as well, generally speaking. Then we have a fun extra bonus here. As part of the Street Fighter collaboration, there were a number of gestures added to the game. The free gesture is Go Shoryuken, and then there are also paid gestures that you could get as well. Well, I did get these gestures to check them out, of course. I'm happy to report that the paid gestures don't do anything particularly special, and their actual damage is negligible, so you can ignore them entirely. But the free gesture, Go Shoryuken, actually does have a secret bonus. If you use this normally, it's just a Shoryuken. It does a little bit of damage if you hit a monster. If, however, you use it at the end of any of the 3 combos from the Akuma Fist item, you will get OD Go Shoryuken, which is significantly increased damage, like to the point where it matches the rest of the fist combo attacks, and you can follow that with the Metsu Shoryugeki landing animation from Sword and Shield and Sunbreak, which, of course, was also an animation that originally came from Street Fighter, if I'm not mistaken, so it all fits quite perfectly. That said, this means you can use this gesture to extend out combos as needed, and you can do this easily by putting it on your radial menu, or if you want to get a bit more classically Street Fighter with it, at the end of any of the standard combos, you can input perfectly right on your left stick, then straight down, and then down right, along with one of the attack buttons. This will launch off the attack without using the gesture itself. I found this easiest to perform, interestingly enough, by just sort of rolling the left stick around in that lower right quadrant while spamming a non-consecutive attack button, meaning if I wanted to use it at the end of the circle combo, I would spam the triangle as the attack button while doing the stick motion. If I was doing it at the end of the triangle combo, I would spam circle instead while doing the stick motion, and the game just seems to read that input a lot better for whatever reason. Now for the damage of the Shoryuken itself, it's pretty niche. Specifically, the gesture used as a combo finisher only has a DPS of 31.1 when added on to the end of any combo. This, you'll probably notice, is lower damage than the other combos have, and that comes with being a longer timer to complete the animation than just doing the standing light punch combo again as well. So you can't really even argue that it's the best damage per time at the end of a combo, because it's actually more effective to just do the standing light punch combo at the end of whatever other combo you were doing anyways. The only real reasons that you would use it, however, is first, the fact that it does do a hefty amount of stun damage. I think it is the highest amount of stun damage that any of the individual Akuma attacks have, and so if you're trying to get stuns and you're sure you'll hit the head with it, this is a pretty good option. The other option is if the aerial pop-up from the attack would dodge an incoming attack from a monster, like Insect Glaive's Vault, essentially. But that's pretty much it from what I can tell personally. Then we have something I did want to try, which is just alternating standing light punch into the heavy kick, just for a classic infinite combo without any finishers, and long story short, it is not good. It is way worse than doing just any of the proper combos with the finishers back to back, which is exactly how it should be, really. Simplifying that down for the most part, standing light punch combo is simple, easy, quick, and has a ranged component for its strongest hit. Viscera Piercer combo is harder to connect with, very short range, but the highest damage combo out of the three. Then the kick combo is only slightly less damage per second, but a longer combo time overall to complete, and it also has a ton of forward momentum on it. The Go Shoryuken is mostly just used if you want to apply a bunch of stun damage, or if you just have an exact perfect lineup of an attack coming at you, where you can dodge it and then also hit the actual damage from it. Moving on from that, the next step then is how can we increase the damage of these attacks? After a bunch of messing around and experimenting with different setups, the rules for this are pretty simple, it seems. The damage of the Akuma item scales based off of your stats on the status screen. If you have a 100 attack weapon on your back, that will do significantly less damage than if you had a 225 attack weapon on your back, or a 250 attack weapon as well. These attacks also scale with skills, they scale with item buffs, so if you do things like have a demon drug, it will affect the damage of the Akuma hits. These attacks can also crit, and so they are affected by things like crit boost and general crit skills as well. They do not apply status in general, however the damage does go up very slightly from element if you have element on your weapon, a very small amount, but it doesn't seem to directly apply element either. I'm not sure it even respects element hit zones, and it's important to note that this only happens if you are using the armor set proper, whereas if you just use it as a layered armor, it seems to gain no value at all from the element stat for whatever reason. Outside of this, there is of course the boost from the Akuma armor set itself, and the set bonus seems to be specifically a 33% damage increase for all Akuma attacks, as well as adding stun value to the hits and making drive impact count as an offset attack too, which is a big deal. So for anyone wondering, that is generally speaking enough of a difference, and even the damage bonus itself is big enough that it's very hard to outdo that using a non-Akuma set if you want to use the Akuma moveset as your main playstyle. The damage from this is boosted further by the Rice Ball skill, which is exclusively found on the charm that is in the Akuma Arena quests, so you can't use this in actual hunts, but it is worth noting that in those specific arena quests you have a charm that makes the punches even stronger, and that's just in an attempt to make it unquestionably stronger to use them than using weapons normally in those specific arena quests. That said, that means if you want to boost the damage of this as a proper playstyle, you sort of just want to build as much standard offense as you physically can outside of specifically sharpness, because sharpness doesn't help. So your classic full 100% affinity, full crit boost in the weapon ideally, and then just pumping as much raw attack bonus as you can from the rest of your skill space, with a note that things like maximum might are better than normal with it because while using this as your main playstyle, you are never really unsheathing your weapon, so you use very little stamina and have high mobility. On a similar note, for those wondering, they did predict the potentially cool sword and shield functionality. You sadly cannot use the Akuma moveset while unsheathed with sword and shield like you can with other items. You do have to sheath for it like everyone else does. One extra note as well before we move on, I am not treating this as a build video, so I won't go into total detail just yet, but it's worth mentioning that because of how this scales, this means you can use a weapon from any category, any weapon type that best fits the goals. Generally speaking, that lends itself to weapons that have obscenely high raw attack, and it removes the negative from any weapon that has sharpness limitations as a compensator for that. So you can, of course, even use ranged weapons if you want to, because again, sharpness does not matter. Then the next big thing to talk about quickly here, of course, is drive impact. This is the attack that counts as a wound pop if you hit a wounded part of the monster with it, but also works as an offset attack if you are wearing the Akuma armor set and use it at the same timing you would another offset. Performing this attack successfully in either one of those ways will put it on cooldown for exactly 30 seconds, which you will see on the UI, with the drive bar at the bottom right being emptied when this happens. This will then just refill over time. It doesn't seem to refill any faster if you deal damage or not. Then when it is full, you can use drive impact again. You can get a shortcut to drive impact as a wound popping mechanic by quickly inputting square square triangle circle while holding forward on the left stick, or XXYB for Xbox, EE right click left click for mouse and keyboard. If you do this set of inputs fast enough and there is a wound on the monster near you, you will automatically go into the wound popping awesome animation. For the offset, however, you do have to use the item manually. This will not trigger from that set of inputs, which again, this can be done through the radial menu, or you can just switch to it and use it on the actual item bar. The offset version has a bonus special effect though, which is that if you succeed with the offset, you gain around a 5% damage boost with the Akuma moveset until your drive bar fills back up. Then the moment you can do drive impact again, the buff will drop off. This creates a bit of a cycle where you want to actively hunt for offsets as much as possible. 5% attack isn't a massive amount, but it is enough that it's definitely worth doing. As for the armor set itself, it's nothing all that crazy. You wouldn't want it for any reason other than a playstyle focused around the Akuma moveset instead of normal weapons, as the damage boost is honestly that dramatic, and the other reason would be if you just like looking like Akuma, which is what layered armor is for anyways. As for a couple of other skill synergies that are fun to point out as well, though not necessarily damage increasing, focus as a skill does reduce the cooldown of the drive gauge, which means that if you have focus, you can more consistently keep the buff active from a successful offset, which is quite good, and 3 focus is in total around 4.5 seconds cut off of the 30-second cooldown. This would give you nearly 5 seconds to hit an offset before the buff drops off naturally. As well, Evade Extender is weirdly extra effective with the dodge that you get after using an Akuma attack. This dodge is great in general, but for whatever reason, the effect of Evade Extender as a skill just seems bigger for this dodge than any other dodge in the game. Like, it's double the distance that it is without the skill, if not more, which is sort of crazy. And it is a great way to work in easy repositioning without needing to fully reset and stop your offense. As for how good playing like this actually is, this isn't going to replace your meta weapon sets for pure damage. They still do more than this, but it's definitely not bad. It's solid enough that, especially with the short hunt times that we have right now in Wilds, you're going to be just fine if you use this and build around it properly. It shouldn't make you fail any quests that you otherwise wouldn't, but of course it's possible because it will make your hunts take longer than not using it because it does do a bit less damage. However, using a fully optimized Akuma moveset setup isn't that much weaker than using a not overly optimized regular weapon build, meaning that it really isn't that bad if you want to fully focus on using it, provided that you actually build it up to be as strong as you can. That just about does it for today then, everyone. A bunch of testing and checking out Akuma and his moveset being added to Monster Hunter Wilds, which is sort of a crazy sentence to be able to say, but I'm happy that I can. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and hopefully it helps you out if you want to go around punching things with as much effectiveness as possible. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.